Welcome to the Safe Funeral Academy. Regulation of the Scottish Funeral Sector. A guide for funeral staff. On the 1st of March 2025, the regulation of funeral directors in Scotland will enter a new era. For the first time, a comprehensive legal framework will govern the way funeral directors operate, with a mandatory code of practice designed to ensure high standards of care, transparency, and respect for bereaved families across the country. But what does this mean for companies and individuals working in the sector, as well as the families they serve, and the overall industry in Scotland? This guide will take you through the essential aspects of the new regulations, the code of practice, and how they will impact the future of funeral services. We'll begin with a look at the background of funeral regulations in Scotland. To understand the significance of the upcoming changes, it's important to first appreciate the context in which they have been developed. For years, the funeral industry in Scotland operated without specific statutory regulation. Although many funeral directors adhered to professional guidelines, there was no unified legal framework to enforce consistent standards. This situation often left bereaved families without recourse when services fell short of expectations. In response to growing concerns about the need for higher standards and greater accountability, the Scottish Government initiated a comprehensive review of funeral services, which culminated in the creation of the new regulatory framework. This framework is part of the broader Public Health Act Scotland 2022, which also addressed burial and cremation regulations. The new regulations reflect extensive consultations with stakeholders, including funeral directors, bereavement charities, and the general public. The goal is to ensure that every funeral conducted in Scotland upholds the dignity of the deceased, while providing clear protections and rights for the bereaved. A key figure in the new regulatory landscape is the Inspector of Funeral Directors, a role that was established to oversee the implementation of these regulations and ensure compliance across the industry. The Inspector of Funeral Directors will have several responsibilities, including licensing funeral directors, conducting inspections, investigating complaints, and ensuring that all funeral directors adhere to the code of practice. The inspector will have the authority to issue improvement notices and, in severe cases, suspend or revoke a funeral director's license. The establishment of this role is central to the new regulatory framework, providing a formal mechanism for oversight that was previously absent. At the heart of the new regulation is the Code of Practice, a set of standards that all funeral directors must adhere to from March 1, 2025. This code is designed to ensure that funeral services are conducted with care, integrity, and transparency. The Code of Practice covers a wide range of areas, including the treatment of the deceased, the information provided to families, the management of funeral services, and the handling of complaints. Let's explore each of these areas in more detail. The Code of Practice places a strong emphasis on the respectful treatment of the deceased. Funeral directors are required to ensure that the deceased are cared for in a dignified manner at all times. This includes the proper storage of bodies, the cleanliness of facilities, and the respectful handling of the deceased during preparations for burial or cremation. Funeral directors must also keep detailed records of the care provided, ensuring that there is a clear chain of custody for the deceased from the time of death to the final resting place. This transparency is crucial in maintaining trust with families. Another critical aspect of the Code of Practice is the requirement for funeral directors to provide clear and accurate information to bereaved families. This includes providing itemized pricing information, explaining the different options available for funerals, and offering advice on how to manage the various aspects of the process. Families must be given enough information to make informed decisions without feeling pressured. Funeral directors are also required to provide written estimates and agreements before any services are carried out, ensuring that there are no surprises when it comes to costs. The code also outlines expectations for the overall management of funeral services. This includes ensuring that funerals are conducted in line with the wishes of the deceased and their families, coordinating with other service providers like cemeteries and crematoria, and managing the logistics of the funeral day itself. Funeral directors must also have contingency plans in place to handle any unforeseen issues that may arise, such as delays or disruptions, ensuring that the service proceeds as smoothly as possible. Finally, the Code of Practice stipulates how complaints should be handled. Funeral directors must have a clear and accessible complaints procedure in place. Any complaints must be acknowledged promptly and investigated thoroughly. The new regulations emphasize the importance of resolving issues in a manner that is fair and transparent. If a complaint cannot be resolved internally, it may be escalated to the Inspector of Funeral Directors for further investigation. With the introduction of these regulations, all funeral directors in Scotland will be required to obtain a licence to operate legally. This licensing process is designed to ensure that only those who meet the required standards are allowed to practice. To obtain a licence, funeral directors must demonstrate that they comply with the Code of Practice and meet other criteria set by the Scottish Government. This includes having the necessary qualifications, training, and facilities to provide funeral services. Regular inspections will be conducted to ensure ongoing compliance. Failure to comply with the regulations can result in penalties, including fines, suspension, or even revocation of the licence. This stringent approach is intended to maintain high standards across the industry and protect the interests of the public. So what will be the impact on funeral directors and the broader industry? The introduction of these regulations represents a significant shift in how the industry operates. For many, this will involve adapting to new standards and procedures, investing in staff training, and possibly upgrading facilities to meet the requirements. While this may present challenges, it also offers an opportunity for the industry to enhance its reputation and provide even better service to the public. Let's look at the impact on bereaved families. Beyond the implications for funeral directors, the new regulations are designed with the primary focus on the needs and rights of bereaved families. These changes aim to ensure that families receive the highest standard of care during one of the most difficult times in their lives. Families will benefit from greater transparency in the services offered and the costs involved. The requirement for written agreements means that families will have clear documentation outlining the services they will receive and the associated costs, reducing the likelihood of misunderstandings or unexpected charges. The introduction of the Code of Practice also means that families can expect consistent standards across all funeral directors in Scotland. This ensures that no matter where they are, families can rely on the same level of professionalism and care. Additionally, the formalised complaints procedure gives families a clear pathway to address any concerns they may have about the services received. Knowing that there is an independent inspector who can oversee and resolve disputes provides an added layer of security and peace of mind. Training and professional development. A crucial element of adapting to the new regulatory environment is the emphasis on ongoing training and professional development for funeral directors and their staff. To maintain compliance with the regulations, funeral directors must ensure that all staff are adequately trained in the Code of Practice and the operational standards required by law. This includes everything from the respectful handling of the deceased to effective communication with bereaved families. Although not mandatory, continuous professional development will be encouraged, with opportunities for staff to update their skills and knowledge in line with the latest best practices in the funeral industry. This not only helps in maintaining compliance, but also enhances the quality of service provided to families. Enforcement and penalties. With the introduction of these regulations comes the necessity of enforcement mechanisms to ensure that all funeral directors adhere to the new standards. The Inspector of Funeral Directors will play a pivotal role in enforcing the regulations. Funeral directors found in violation of the Code of Practice or operating without a license will face significant penalties, ranging from fines to the suspension or revocation of their license. The enforcement process is designed to be fair but firm, with an emphasis on corrective actions and continuous improvement. Funeral directors who receive an improvement notice will be given a timeframe within which to address the issues identified. Failure to comply within this period could lead to more severe consequences. In the future, the Scottish Government will announce the timeline and process to apply for an operating licence. This application will require evidence of compliance with the Code of Practice, so it's important to have all necessary documentation and processes in place. Finally, engaging with the broader funeral director community through SAFE or local networks can provide additional support and resources during this transition period. Sharing knowledge and best practices will be crucial as the industry adapts to the new regulatory landscape. March 1, 2025, will be a new dawn for funeral services in Scotland, a future where every funeral director operates with the highest level of integrity and every family receives the support and care they deserve during their time of loss. Thank you for joining us in this exploration of the upcoming regulation of funeral directors in Scotland. If you need further advice or support, contact the SAFE Business Centre or your local SAFE representative. For more information on the Code of Practice, follow the Scottish Government Funeral Sector blog or visit the Scottish Government website links provided.